we are on.
Yay!
Yay! Hello, everyone. This is Mai Vu Coach of Bold, Brave Women Community. And I am so excited to be here with my guest and dear friend, Elizabeth Carrington, playing my game. This is a new game that I just created for myself and for all my guests. It's called 10Q, 10 questions. We get a total of 10 questions to ask each other about anything. Of course, everything in life is about relationship. That's how it is in my world. So everything about relationship. And I'm pretty sure that it's going to be relevant and fun and spicy when Elizabeth and I are together, especially with the topic today, which is the erotic blueprint. All right. Hello, darling. Would you like to come in and say hi to the audience and then see what will happen next?
Yes, let's have some fun. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. And thanks for inviting me, Mai.
Oh, you are most welcome. So Erotic Blueprint is a love of Elizabeth. And I know a tiny bit about it. I don't know much. So I'm going to elect to ask question first and Elizabeth get to answer first. And we only have 5 questions. So we have to make the question count. All right. And I have to just start with Elizabeth. What is the erotic blueprint?
Right?
It's not rocket science over here.
You have to ask the basics first. Yeah, the erotic blueprints. I think it's just a compelling question waiting to happen, right? Because it's so. What are the erotic blueprints? Well, one way of describing
erotic blueprint. You know, whoever designed that was such a smart marketer.
Exactly. We give homage to Jaya for her brilliance in naming this map. And really, it is, if you know about the love languages, the 5 love languages, think the love languages in the bedroom.
That's okay.
So what we're talking about is 5.
Well, just in case people don't know what the love languages are, that's another body of work. I forget the guy's name. Do you remember?
No. Gary Chapman.
Okay. The 5 languages of love, where he asserts that for human being, we have 5 ways of expressing love and receiving love.
Right.
And when those ways are being met, we feel loved. When they're not being met, doesn't matter what people are giving to us, we feel unmet and not enough love.
Right.
And that's enough for that. And you can look it up, the 5 languages of love. Okay, back to the erotic blueprint, because it's so much.
So it's basically the same metaphor. So if your love language in the love languages of Gary Chapman is touch, and you're a person who loves affection, and when you're being touched, you feel like, oh, he loves me or she loves me, and you're getting all these gifts and all these other wonderful things, but you're not getting the affection that you love. You really feel starved for love. So it's the same basic idea. So in the bedroom, we map 5 different ways of receiving our erotic attention or our turn on, right? And so you could be getting all day long your partner's version of that. And you're like, oh, that totally doesn't do it for me. I'm totally missing them. You're like this, and your partner's, usually what happens is your partner gives you what they want, and you give your partner what you want, and you find this feeling of being frustrated and disconnected, and you wonder why people are living in sexless relationships or partnerships, So this is like the erotic blueprints is like a revolutionary wake up awareness for people in the realm of eroticism and sexuality. It's really a wonderful gift. So there's 5 of them. And if you want, you can use another question.
I wasn't going to use my question for that. I was like, well, if I just shut up, she's going to tell me hopefully soon what they are. So I don't have to waste one of my questions on it.
Okay, I'll take the bait. So 5, right? So there's energetic, and in very brief, there's a lot of richness here, but in very brief, the energetic is turned on by the tease and anticipation of looking forward to the kiss, or looking forward to the connection, or looking forward to that moment before you are touched, or like it's all about the buildup,
anticipation.
Right? It really is. Yeah. So if you go right into somebody who's energetic, they're like, whoa, you overwhelmed me. I feel assaulted by your attack. It really does, because they are so energetically sensitive, right? And so aware to the flow of what the vibration is in each moment. So that's one of their superpowers, is this incredible attunement and sensitivity, right? Their shadow, of course, is that they get easily overwhelmed and they can feel shut down. Somebody who's being excited and with anticipation, and all of a sudden you're like, go right for some body part, genitals or breasts, it doesn't matter. Any part of the body, it's like, oh my God, it's too much. I feel overstimulated. So they are the ones who, for them, less is more. Less is more. And so that's the energetic. The sensual, of which they all have their own version of superpowers and shadow, but the summary in brief of the sensual is all of the senses, whether it's delicious food, or whether it's the perfect music that sets the mood, or whether it's the they can be very artistic around romance. They love to do the thing where you go out to dinner and you have a bottle of wine and you talk and you connect, and all of that is very sensual, and they like a certain kind of touch, even, like more of a contouring touch, more of a firm touch to the body, more of that cuddling, bodies against body, that's very arousing to them.
I've had husbands that complain that my wife, she's got to have all the candles and the flowers and all that stuff all over the bed.
Yeah. And it probably is your way of tuning into something that helps bring you into a state of pleasure and connected and openness, right? Now, the shadow for the sensual blueprint is that if those things aren't just right, they can feel like if there's a pile of stuff on the floor, or there's the music is not the vibe that feels good to them, or the candles aren't lit, the smells in the air don't smell good, right? All of a sudden they can feel very contracted, and sensuals need to be in their body, out of their head. They get stuck in their head, and if they don't have the environment quite right, they're not going to be connected.
Yeah. And I find that a lot of them get stuck in the head.
Yeah, they do.
Often.
That's our challenge.
Like things are not right, so I can't. And then they end up judging their partners, or
blaming,
or and they can't. They just can't. And then it becomes a game of perfection. Getting it right, and then the other partner loses. Anyway, it's a complicated. It's a complicated.
It is, which is why the awareness, where you can own what's important to you, and your partner can see that and go, oh, that's just your sensual blueprint again, rather than, I can't.
You're so picky. Everything has to be so perfect.
Exactly. That's huge amount of space and compassion of awareness that can shift a dynamic right there. Yeah. So that's the sensual. Now we have the sexual blueprint, which is the third, which is kind of like the American movie version of sex, and what we've been told is really sex. Most people think that sex is just the sexual blueprint, which is the pursuit of an orgasm, the pursuit of, the genitals, the visual stimulation of porn. Yep. Very visual. And it's let's get to the act of intercourse. That's the focus of the sexual blueprint. Now, that's a wonderful thing, and that's great. You may not have that as your primary blueprint. And in that case, it feels like, whoa, what are you doing? Let's just hold your horses, and this is for men or women. It doesn't matter, right? Women are sexual blueprint, men are sexual blueprint, men are not sexual blueprint sometimes. Women are. So this is really, I find the sexual blueprint can take a big burden off of some people that think they're supposed to be a certain way sexually, so that's the jam of the sexual blueprint is the act of sex and the culmination of orgasm. It's a wonderful thing. It's easy. It's fun. It's playful, right?
How many orgasm can I have today?
Yeah, it's like great. It's nourishing. It's feeding them, right? The shadow of the sexual blueprint is blocking out all the other ways of arousal and enjoying that anticipation, or the smells in the air, or the room being just right. All those things are also part of the intimate experience, right? But sexuals can be a little mono-focused. So their challenge is to open their blinders and see other ways of getting to connection and intimacy. So that's sexual. Number 4 is the kinky blueprint. So the kinky is essentially turned on by all the naughty things, the taboo things, the things that are outside of the comfort zone. Oh my God, some people, there's psychological kinky, there's physical kinky. The physical are more on the sensation play, the feeling of being constrained or being held down or being pressure on the body.
Taken.
What's that?
Taken.
Yeah. And then, or the psychological part is this part where your partner's whispering in your ear, telling you to do something that you're not supposed to do, but you get so turned on by that. It's a wonderful thing. So kinky is multifaceted. There's so much to cover, but let me make sure I cover the shadow, which is shame, right? So kinkies are immensely creative. They're out of the box. They think in terms like so many different creative ways, right? Role play and fun in that way. And they feel ashamed because in our society, there's not a lot of permission, right, to do it a non-traditional version of sexuality, right?
I would say in the world society.
In the whole, exactly. Yeah. So kinky's number 4, and then shapeshifter. Shapeshifter is the multi-testarossa, model of sexual. They are the masters of sexuality. They like all of them. They include all the blueprints. In an interaction with somebody, they can be energetic, they can be sexual, they can be kinky, they can be sensual, and they seem to like have this wave of all the different versions of connection all at once sometimes. And they are the challenge for the shapeshifter is that they're often starving because they meet their partner in their blueprint, right? And essentially they meet their partner in their blueprint and they give them what they want, but they don't end up getting all their fulfillment and their needs met. So the shapeshifter is often told that they're too much and they want too much of they're too
never
big.
Satisfied.
Yeah, they're never getting all of their needs met. And in truth, until you own that is true for you and you behave and act and ask from that place, you will be starved and you will appear like too much because you'll be kind of ashamed that you want so much, right? So the shapeshifter is a big one to step into and own. And from what I've seen, as people identify their primary blueprint or even their secondary one, some people think, oh, I've got 2 of these that really flow well together. And they expand into another one sometimes, then they can expand into shapeshifters. Most of the people that I work with over time end up being shapeshifters, not in the beginning, but ultimately, because why not enjoy all the different channels? Why not have all the different things, right? It's like, yeah, why restrict yourself?
I can also see that then there's, people tend to think linearly, like I achieve this and then that, and I'm going to get there. Like I could just see knowing about this, people could shoot themselves into, well, one day I'm going to aspire to be a shapeshifter or there's a certain pride to say, I'm a shapeshifter. I'm everything, versus just really being true to who you are and what you like.
Yeah, fair enough.
The ego gets in the way.
Yeah, it can. Especially in typing systems. It's like you think there's one that's better than the other, and there isn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, second question.
Yes.
Good job covering that first one. You satisfied at least 10 questions inside that one.
I know.
That's great.
Well done.
Okay, so the next question is there a okay. Got 2 questions now. One is, what if you are a sensual and then you're partner with a sexual?
Yeah.
How do you bridge that gap?
Yeah, that's a great.
So the sensuals, for those who are just tuning in right now, the sensuals are the one who needs the candles and the music and the ambience and the smell. Everything is so kind of. I'm describing it from a sexual place because for the sexual, I see them as everything has to be in the place and before they can be satisfied. And then the sexual are someone like me where we just like, you want to fuck? Great, let's go.
Right.
It's all good.
Get to it.
So how do we bridge that gap? How do we help the couple from that friction?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's the essential question here in working with couples, right? Because almost inevitably, you're going to find that you're in a relationship with somebody with a different primary blueprint. So it's kind of a little bit of the cosmic erotic joke, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing, of course, is awareness, right? To understand first, oh my God, we have different blueprints. We are satisfied by different things. No wonder why, ... right? This is always so frustrating for me. No wonder why you're always trying to do this and it drives me crazy. Oh my God. And so hopefully there's some like aha that happens where you look at your partner and you go, oh, okay, I see. No wonder why. Oh,
Well,
honey,
that's good for the first couple of times, but then what?
Well, then you have to feed the two starving people in that relationship. So the sexual probably is like, oh my God, I would have an orgasm 1 to 3 times a day, or I would like to do much more exploration visually, whether it's porn or my partner dressing up in way more appealing clothing that would really turn me on. Right. So, and then the sensual is like, well, geez, the last time you touched me and it didn't have an end point, we weren't going anywhere, and you just gave me this full body, all of the smells and all the touch that I love, and then you just let me drift off to sleep in heaven, So there has to be some filling up of the love tank, if you will, because both people have been probably chronically frustrated and starved, and they're a little bit kind of resigned, right? To, well, it's fine. That's just what he or she likes. That's just what,
I wouldn't say a little bit. I mean, I would say a lot.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the whole essence of what happened in the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you have a family and you're living in a whole lifestyle with somebody, you start to say, well, that's not maybe so important. I mean, many people do. And then they end up being ultimately feeling like, why are we like roommates, right? And that's a sexless relationship, which are actually really common today. So This is something that is hard to start because it's like there's such a backlog of frustration and disappointment and unfulfilled, right, experiences. But then especially if you're working with a coach, right, and you're doing it in bite-sized chunks. Okay, this week you're going to spend 20 minutes, right, feeding each other, right, twice this week. That's your homework. Okay, that's a humongous thing, right, to take on because you just feel like, oh, this is too overwhelming, right? But if you do it with somebody in partnership, I think it's a lot easier to recover.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yes.
Number 3. What's your type and what's your partner's type?
So I originally, when I started, I was an energetic sensual. This was a few years ago, right? So you want to turn me on, you just start with that gentle, light touch, a lot of eye contact, a lot of presence, right? You're right there with me. There's this feeling of like, we're here together, right? And then you can move into like more sensual, more firm touch, bodies together, right? Really wrapping yourselves around each other. And that moves me even more toward arousal, right? And then the sexual blueprint, then I'm available for that type of connection, more intercourse, more physical body penetration, right? So that was kind of like my flow, right, early on. And then over time, of course, because, it's just pleasure is just joyful, different forms of expression. It was like, all right, let me just blossom into more kinky and eventually it was shapeshifter. So it's like, I like all the things now. But in the beginning, my partner, who's a sexual, the energetic and the sexual are like the farthest apart, right? Because the energetic is all about subtle and the sexual is all about boom, right? So
let me take you over the counter.
Exactly. And for a while early on in the relationship, I was able to override my desire for the more subtle realms. And I was just like, okay, well that, whatever. And I enjoyed it to an extent, but ultimately, as I learned about the blueprints, I started to own, because I was always thinking, why can't he touch me the way I like to be touched? And maybe it's just me, and maybe there's something wrong, and maybe I should just not be so picky. And I put this whole trip on myself, right? But then when I learned about the blueprints and I learned there was a thing called energetic touch, and that blew me out of the water. I was like, this is my thing. This is what totally makes my body happy. You can do this to me, and I'm happy. I'm done. I'm so, energetics can have these energetic full body orgasms. They don't even need to be touched. You can just like hold your energetic focus on them and their body just starts to flow,
Wow.
So that challenge of the energetic with the sexual was the greatest thing to start to bridge. I asked him would he be willing to learn to touch me in the way that I liked? It took months. It took months and months and months. But eventually he was willing, and it took a while because he was just a little coarser. He's like, I don't understand about this. It's like, just do it slower. No, slower. Now stop. Just stay right there. And I'm happy, So it took a long time, but now we have this dynamic, joyful, full-bodied expression, right? Because we both know that sometimes I give him more of what he wants. Sometimes he gives me more of what I want. Sometimes I get a whole night of what I like. Sometimes I just want this focus and I just want to have you take care of me. Okay, right. Fine. Because I feel like there's reciprocity, right? But that took a while to own, and learning about the blueprints was the needle mover for both of us. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you answered both two questions there. Like what it is and how do you bridge the gap and be there.
Yeah.
Let's see. I love this game because it's just so thorough. Only 5 questions, and I feel like I learn about the blueprint. I see how to use it. I see what the gaps are and how what couples need to do to meet each other in this crevasse of difference. Right. So let's see. What's the next questions? What I'm going to save my last 2 questions because I don't have a compelling questions at the moment.
Okay. Well, okay. Tell me what blueprints you resonate with. Like, tell me a little bit about your experience.
I think I'm a mix between sexual and kinky. I don't need kink to get sexual. So I think I'll probably be a primary sexual being. I mean, all you have to do is just press up against me and have something hard up against me, and I'm like, okay. Yeah. I'm ready to go. Which I really like because it's fast, it's quick, it's efficient, and it can be really fun, or the shadow of that is it can be monotonous, right? Because it's just kind of like boom, boom, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am kind of thing. Right. However, if one is lasting, we can go for many rounds. I've been with a lover where he would count my orgasm. Yeah. And we would be like at 20 something, and then after that we're like, all right, we're stop count. But what's cool though is once you get past the 3rd orgasm and you get to like the teens and then the 20 something, there's something new that comes out that is rare, that is different than just your first 3 orgasms. And so my whole being would light up, and there's just more power coming through, and there's I rarely get to get there, but I miss it and I loved it, and it's really fun to just be free. For me, being sexual is like I'm free of having, I don't care. I'm free of, does it smell in here? Does it, all the things that trip my head up, that gets in the way of my orgasm or my pleasure. It doesn't matter because I'm so in the act of it, and it's just so good. Yeah, I probably would make a good porn star, but anyway. Yeah. Yeah. And then if you know kink and you do a little kink in there, that makes it even hotter. Yeah. And I do get frustrated with kink sometimes, because sometimes you have kink who are sensual or who are energetic. So then they're all about the ambiance, and I'm like, where is the fucking? I'm in it for the fucking. Come on. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I play with a few men who like love to tie you up, and that's all they want, just to tie you up. And I'm like, wait, That was 2 hours.
Right.
I'm not getting any turn on but they're getting themselves fed by,
Right.
the sensation of it, the beauty of it, the energy of it, and all this stuff. And I'm just kind of like, TikTok, I'm waiting for that penetration.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're a true sexual, May.
Yes.
Yes. Confirmed. I confirm. Yeah.
Thank you. Stamp it on my forehead.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the get right to it. Let's do it. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. There's such a playfulness and joy in it, and that's why it's important. We don't shame anyone. Like, it's great. That brings such a lightness and a joyful spirit to the act of sexuality and eroticism. It's so beautiful. It's just that, of course, if it's the only thing, as you say, it can get boring and repetitive and there's no spice and variety, so it has to be augmented with other aspects. So
yeah, I do. I mean, speaking of judgment, I do feel like sometimes I judge myself, or there's an implied, I joke, and I feel like I love James Bond, especially the one with Daniel Craig, and on the first James Bond, Casino Royale, where M said, "You're a blunt instrument." And I'm like, that's me. I'm a blunt instrument. Oh, shoot.
Yes,
anyway, but it is, I hear people talk about all these things, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should be like that. And it's like, no.
Yeah. I am who I am. I love me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, my favorite scenario would be is like having like, I saw this, I forget what this movie was. It's one of those soft porn thing where, this woman was being fucked, and there's like a line of men waiting to just fuck her one after another. I'm like, yeah, that would be really good. Don't need candles.
Right, right.
Just hard cock.
No ambiance necessary. Right.
Well, a clean bed, a clean sheet is good.
Okay.
It's important.
All right. There are some basics. Okay, good.
That's right. I have standards.
That's right. That's right. Hold away.
Oh my God, that's funny.
That's so good.
Oh, other question?
My turn for another question. You know what just flashed is, how in Brene Brown's podcast, she always asks for 5 questions at the end. I think one of them is a moment of profound gratitude recently. But I was thinking of, like, tell me a moment of joy recently and what was happening. Like, tell me, I know you are very well connected to joy. So I want to hear about you.
Sexually or
in general, however.
In general.
Yeah.
A moment of joy. Well, this is a moment of joy. Just talking about sex. It's super joyful.
Awesome.
I'm like, I miss this lit up place. So I will take that. A moment of joy for me is to be able to talk about sex freely, openly, and being outrageous about it, and not outrageous but real, and not have to hold back, and I don't have to fit in anything. I don't give a you're right. So it's like, yeah. So that's my joy, and it's also it's my being. People tend to just come up to me and start telling me about their sex life. It's just so funny. I swear, I was teaching a class up in Davis, training coaches, and this old man who was like 70 something years old, and during break he just came up and started talking about how him and his wife, their sex life and all this stuff. And I'm like, what possessed you to know that I could handle that kind of,
right?
I can. So that's great joy for me. How about you? I'll take my question. What brings you joy?
Well, so many things. Let's see. Some moment recently of joy. My son is 17, and my partner, doesn't matter his age, but
hopefully he's younger and his cock goes all night long.
Yes, right. Well, being a sexual blueprint, it doesn't really matter the age so much, because he's just always ready to go. But a moment of joy recently was just going out to my, I call it my happy place in the summer, where I go to my RV and just kind of decompress and let the world go. And I went out with the two of them to close up for the season, and I was just standing there on my deck, right, that my son helped me build last summer. And they were covering my trailer for the winter, so it would be all nice and, dry and everything when we get back in the spring. And I was just standing there, just having this moment of total joy. Like, I feel like a queen, I get to have this beautiful place that I come and visit and decompress and kind of become a little hermit in the summer, and there's these two men that I love dearly, the two men that I love most in the world, just taking care of me and serving me and supporting me in something that is dear to me, which is this little RV, and I just felt so grateful and so joyful for this life. Yeah.
Well, as I'm listening to you through the lenses of the Erotic Blueprint, I can feel you talking from that energetic place. It just feels energetic. Like when I answer that question, you can feel my sexual directness, energy, and and I can feel your energetic. I don't know how to describe
more
that.
Spacious, more,
And it's not like I don't feel that. I have lots and lots of moments like that. But what really lit me up is the more direct. I don't want to call it confrontation, but it is kind of like direct combat, direct thing, energy coming at you, and yours is more ethereal and more gentle, and it's like I feel like there's a bubble around it. So you can even, now I'm like flashing through all these people in my life. I'm like, oh, that's why. Oh, that. She's probably like this or probably like that in bed also.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Here's my last question. Is there a correlation of like how we are in the world is how we are, or similar to how we are in the bedroom?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, you're picking up on that. Absolutely. You could you could think about the blueprints in terms of how you even approach in business, like a sexual blueprint, right in there, direct, right to the point. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm right there. And
let's close that deal.
Yeah, like here we are. Let's get the job done. Let's get to the orgasm of the deal.
Yes. That's me. I'm a good closer.
Yeah, right. Where the energetic is like, let's discuss this. Let's have a more comprehensive understanding, a little more. It takes a little more time, but that's okay. We need the time, so there's a way that we are embodying our blueprint all the time. And when we start to look like you're already intuiting and perceiving like you do.
As much as we would like to hide behind all our roles and diplomas and blah, 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 but we are at the core a sexual being. That comes first over everything else. Yeah. So I would think that our blueprint shows up, unless you really work hard at covering yourself up. Or maybe if you are what was that last one?
Shapeshifter.
A shapeshifter. Yeah. I know this part, but I don't know the word for it. A shapeshifter, then it might be harder to guess who you are. Yeah. But if you know that, then you would guess that they're a shapeshifter. But anyway, and so by knowing this, we can use it in business, we can use it in everyday life, we can use it, oh, well, it's mom, so let's go easy with her. Oh, no, it's me. Let's just hit her. Yeah. Let's give her the bottom line so that she can just get to it, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. One of my colleagues that's a certified blueprint coach as well uses it in her early childhood, in her Montessori school. She always is aware of her kids' blueprints. And you can think of it in terms of parenting. I think of it in terms of my son. Like, he needs a gentler touch. If I just go straight at him, he's just like, Mom, you blow me out of the water. It's just too much for me. And it's like, okay, all right, let me just be a little more, like this with you around, around the edges. And then he gets it. He's the master of subtlety.
That's so fascinating. Yeah. I mean, I really am excited at being able to use that with children so that we can help them understand themselves, we can treat them to what their level of interaction, what they need. Like, how cool would it be to honor our sexual being from childhood?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Alrighty then. On
Yeah.
that note, we need to bring this to a close.
Okay.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
jumping on and playing the 10Q with me.
Yeah.
Is there I need to add your link. Is there something coming up that you have that people could sign up for if they want to learn more about this?
Thank you for asking. I have two things. One is I could give you the link so people could discover their erotic blueprint. That's really fun for people to do. So I'll share that if you'd like. And the other thing is I have a class, a 6-week Zoom series coming up for women only. It's the first women only I've ever done. Using the blueprint to inform how we connect more deeply with ourselves, really loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, healing ourselves, expressing ourselves, so from the blueprint perspective, how we can learn more deeply about ourselves and honor our own sensuality, our own erotic nature, which most of us in some ways have had shut down, constricted, turned off, So it really is an opportunity for women to come together in a safe place with other women to expand and see themselves more deeply. So that starts the first week of November, and I'm happy to pop the Eventbrite into there too.
Perfect. Do that, and I will update my show information. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this fun and lovely conversation and allowing me to talk about sex. That's so much fun.
Yes. Who knew? You're such a bonus to be so alive around sexuality. Yay. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you for listening and watching this episode. I really appreciate you all being here. If you love what I do, please comment, please like and share. If you have certain topic that you would like me to cover, send me a little note so that I will, or if you want to come and play 10 questions with me, you don't even have to have a topic to talk about that. I know that when two human beings come together and have a conversation, there's always something delicious that comes out of that. So 10 questions is my way of getting to the heart of every human being that I come in contact with. Ta-da! All right. Thank you so much, Miss Elizabeth Carrington. I love you dearly. Mwah.
Love you too. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.